Hey you guys, good afternoon. It's Coach Jessica. I had intended to post a video yesterday. I actually had it kind of planned out, but my day got a little bit thrown for a loop. I received the news that my grandfather had passed away, and I'm just bringing this up because several of you who are my friends on Facebook outside this group have been so kind to message me and reach out, and so I just really appreciate that. But anyway, just changed my plans for the day a little bit, and I was feeling sad and just, going through memories and things like that. But anyway, I did want to come on today and talk to you about a couple things. One, I am absolutely thrilled with all of you who are participating in the group. I cannot tell you what a huge step that is. Just stepping outside of doing this alone and trying to solve this problem that you've tried over and over to solve on your own, and really involving other people is such a huge step in the right direction. There's a couple things I'm concerned about though, because change happens when we change something that we do on a regular basis. So reaching out and being present here is a pretty big step, and I don't want to assume wrongly, but it is so important that you take those journal questions and you really dig in deep. And that process for you for getting free, that process for you to start to really change the way you think. I plant seeds on our Sunday call. And then I ask you to take the seeds I planted and dig deeper, dig holes basically, if you will, with your journaling, and plant those seeds in there and apply it to your own life. So you can have all the seeds, which is exciting to get them, but in order for you to use them and actually, have something good and different spring up in your life, you've got to dig into those assignments and apply those things to you specifically. So if you need to make some time for that, I really encourage you to do that. You don't have to share your answers with the group. That's not something that is necessary. It is more for you than for anything else. I think sometimes it encourages other people when you do share. It encourages them to share also, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you can take what we're talking about and really apply it to your situation. So if you need to go back and look at the last 2 weeks' questions and really answer those things and dig in deep, do that. You need it, because it's not enough. Otherwise, ultimately, you just become dependent on the group as a place for accountability, which is nice. It is nice to be able to check in and all that stuff, and that is an extremely important part of the process. But I am interested in seeing you really change, right? I want to support you. I want us to support you, but I want to see you change. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And then sort of related to that is this. It is incredibly important that you process through your day. So we're starting off with an intention, which is so amazing. It works very, very well. But processing through your day and looking at what was my actual behavior versus what I decided I was going to do this day is so important. And it helps you heal, and honestly, it helps you get an upper hand in this process. What I mean is this: at the end of every day, you need to look back at your day and say, okay, my intention was this, and I did this. Maybe you said your intention was to only eat foods that nourish you, and you did that. But if you actually process back through every situation where you ate, then you can come to a conclusion that will help you going into the next day. It will also help you on a bigger picture. So if I process through the day and I say, well, I made my goal. I actually did only eat foods that nourished me, but I realized, you know what? I ate in response to emotion. Or I ate at night after I knew that I was nourished and I was full. Then it makes you stop and look at that situation, and then I can actually adjust my goal for the next day. I can say, I'm going to nourish, I'm only going to eat foods that nourish me, and I'm not eating past 6 o'clock because that's a danger zone and it's compulsive for me, so I need to have a plan. I need to have some temporary strategies to fill up my time. I need to reach out here. But it causes you to take the next steps forward. I think sometimes if we know that we sort of screwed up in some way, and I hate to use those terminologies, but that's what your brain is telling you anyway, you screwed up, right? But if you're feeling like that it didn't turn out like you wanted to, we sort of would brush it off and start over. And I am so grateful that we do have new mercies for each new day. We don't have to carry yesterday with us. We do have a fresh start every morning. I love that is the way that we are created and the way our world works. We get to wake up and start new each day, but get some wisdom from the day before. And so I just really want to encourage you not only to start off with an intention for the day, but reflect at the end of the day so you can learn and adjust for the next day. I still do that with my eating and with my interactions, and when I process through my day, I'll think, did I eat the way I intended? Was there any part of that was emotional or compulsive? I still ask myself those things because when you have a history of this stuff, you have to be on guard for little things making it crop up again, or especially if you go through something big, that's when those things can crop back up. So I like to just ask myself those questions. I like to, and then, in terms of getting results, you can look at yourself, and I talked about last month how if I didn't process through it, I would still be eating a lot of cheese and stuff like that. I started to process through, and I said, I don't really like how my clothes are fitting, and what's going on with me. And processing through, I realized, I added in cheese, and over time, gradually, it has become a bigger and bigger and bigger part of my meals. And I don't like that, so I'm going to change it. So if you don't take the time to process through, you can't learn and you can't make a better goal or a more detailed goal for yourself. So if it helps you to come in the group, just like in the morning when you come in and you say, here's what I'm going to do for the day, if it helps you to close out your day here in the group, feel free to do that too. The other thing is, when you have struggled, let's say your intention was to eat on plan and at some point in the day you struggled, being honest, coming to the group and being honest about that's really, really important, right? But it's not to dwell on the struggle, it's to figure out exactly what was going on so you don't have to repeat that. This is how you get the upper hand on emotional and compulsive eating and disordered thoughts. If you can, while you're still in that day, reflect back. What was I feeling? What was I thinking? What did I believe before I compromised? Because there's always a belief, and we're going to talk more about this on Sunday, but there's always a belief that happens in your head. You have to be bought into something, a belief about what the food's going to do with you, for you, in order for you to then act on that. So if you can nail what it is that you believe that food was going to do, and then come up with and acknowledge that it didn't do it for you, right? Instead, you're disappointed. Then the next day when you have a similar thought, you can say, no, I don't want to be disappointed like I was yesterday. I don't believe that thought. Your awareness over your own thoughts is so important. So if I press you to dig deeper and ask yourself questions about either, I'm not even talking about a binge, just anything that's a compromise for you, it's because I want you to learn something from it. We grow in wisdom by going through these situations. And so as you go through them, instead of allowing it to be a time where, you heap condemnation on yourself, which is completely useless. There is shame, condemnation serves no purpose, no good purpose. The enemy can use that. Ed loves to heap shame and condemnation because he knows you'll withdraw or get overwhelmed, and you'll relapse. And the reality is, use the situation to get an upper hand. How did my thoughts influence my actions that caused me to compromise and not do what I intended to do? So that deep dive is never about just it's never about like holding you to some standard of perfection. It's about you learning and growing in wisdom, so you then can turn around and use that to help you make it through future situations that are similar. Because the neat thing about that is we tend to repeat things. And so if you can get a handle on those situations that are repetitive in your life, you start to get more and more and more victories. And then that situation isn't a repetitive situation in your life. It's something you've conquered, and you're able to move on to the next thing in the journey. And you know, freedom comes in layers. It comes a little bit at a time. It's not an instantaneous thing. We work through to get free. And while we would like for it to happen instantly, because that's how we are, we don't want to go the hard way. We don't want to do the hard work. When things happen quickly, when they happen too easily, we give them away and they aren't precious to us. When you have to fight hard for it, you'll fight to keep it. You'll really, really fight hard to keep it when you've had to work through. So don't, you know, kind of hate these periods of testing and back and forth and stuff like that. See them for what they are. They're a journey that's growing you in wisdom and endurance. So anyway, I hope that that is helpful. I should be able to pop on with a quick video again tomorrow. I've got some other things I wanted to talk about, but this is what was on my mind today. This next week we're going to be talking about our thoughts and how thoughts become behaviors, but we're also going to be talking about the importance of gratitude and how you can manage that in your life, and actually create situations where you can pull yourself out of negative thoughts and into a place of gratitude. And then next week, as we approach the Thanksgiving holiday, it's really, really important for us to talk about how do we approach not just Thanksgiving. It's just a good opportunity to bring it up, but how do we approach holidays? How do we approach vacation? How do we approach social occasions, things like that? But I'm really going to push that to that week right before, because you guys might need that positive reinforcement, and not only just how to approach the situation, but how do I deal with the people in my life who might not understand my journey and things like that. So that's just sort of a little preview of what's coming. But anyway, I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. Again, thank you for all of your kind thoughts for the loss of my grandfather, and just really appreciate y'all thinking about me, and that means a lot to me. So I will talk to you tomorrow.